me and Miss Jones, we had a nice warm up, and we go over, we have a conversation about legacy and all the wonderful things it does for her and for family members. We go through the yes or no health questions, medication, so we know whether she's guaranteed to issue, super preferred, or somewhere in between. And let's say we show her the rates, and she starts to backpedal on me a little bit. She says, I never do anything over the phone. I'm going to pause, and I'm not going to get rattled, and I'm not going to push right back on her. I'm going to remember we talked about acknowledging objections in previous training calls.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I can role play with you. I got my sheet right here. So you ain't got to be doing all the talking.
Okay. You just like to hear your voice, don't you?
Yeah. I'm just trying to change it up, the monopoly of everything.
All right. Sounds
so
good.
You ain't got to be talking. I got the list right here. If you're talking about possible objections.
Okay. So let's say I'm the insurance agent and you're Mr. Jones. And we've gone over the rates, and Mr. Jones, which is Larry, he says, well, I never do it. Larry, just say I never really do anything over the phone.
I don't never really ever do anything over the phone.
Hey, I understand, Mr. Jones. I'm the same way. Right there, I've acknowledged the objection for that. I'm the same way, but Mr. Roy, Mr. Larry, let me ask you this. The last doctor's appointment you had, did you drive over to the office to make the appointment, or did you just do it over the phone like everybody else?
I did it over the phone.
You see, we do things over the phone. We just don't think about it. Doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, phone call from whoever, whatever. We just aren't used to buying insurance over the phone, so it seems kind of new to us. But we got thousands of people every week that buy insurance all over the United States over the phone. It's kind of the new way of doing things.
Well, Mr. Henn, my daughter told me to never get my banking information to anyone over the phone. So I can't give you my banking information over the phone.
Hey, man, your daughters give you some great advice, Mr. Larry. Good advice. In fact, more daughters should give the same advice to their father like your daughter's doing. Her name was Carol, right?
Yes.
She's the one that's going to have final arrangements down the road, right?
Yes. Yeah, she's going to.
Okay. Well, she's telling you the right thing. You have to be careful because if you're like me, man, I get 10 phone calls a day from people telling me that my Amazon account's messed up, or I purchased this and I purchased that, or some kind of or viruses is on my phone or computer. I get the same calls. I'm sure you do too. Irritating, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Well, I tell you what, I like what you're saying, Mr. Henn. Can you just mail me something?
Now, if you were a direct mail lead, I'm gonna say, we already mailed you something, Mr. Larry. You mailed it back to us. That's why I called you today. The other hand, if it's a TV lead, say a live transfer and they want me to mail them something, I'm going to say, well, Mr. Larry, if I mailed you something, it's going to be a large box probably because we got the legacy brochures, the senior care brochures, got to put rate sheets together. And, we're not really allowed to do all that stuff. I get asked that question all the time, and I wish I could, but we just don't do it because it's expensive. Most people, they prefer to do it because, if you got a question, then you got to mail me in the question. I got to mail the answer to your question back to you. And it's just better to do it while we're on the phone. I can answer all the questions you have. Because I don't even want you to do this, Mr. Larry, if you don't feel good about it. And if you don't feel good about it, I'll get off the phone if you want me to. And that, folks, is kind of extreme, but I'm doing a takeaway. Now, let me go back to the other objection about not doing anything over the phone. If I explain to the daughter, making good suggestion, but we're talking about the insurance, if there's still real resistance, which is a very real possibility, then I'm going to say, Mr. Larry, why don't you do like everybody else is doing? And then I hush up, and Mr. Larry's going to probably respond like, well, what's that? What are they doing? It may take him 4 or 5 seconds to ask that question, but while there's that awkward silence, I'm not saying anything. After I've just asked him, why don't you do like everybody else does?
Well, what does everybody else do?
just mail your check here to the Raleigh, North Carolina office. Go grab a pen and paper and I'll give you the address. The reason I say that and the way I say it, I don't ask them, do you mind mailing a check in? Would you pretty please mail a check in? I don't ask them, I tell them, because I'm the one in charge and I'm guiding them the whole way from when we said hello 30 minutes ago. I'm the one that's kind of gently guiding them along that path to the final sale. So I'll just say, go grab a pen and paper, and I'll give you the address. They usually follow my direction. They go grab a pen and paper and they come right back. And I say, now, Mr. Larry, I want you to write this down carefully this is what you want to put on that envelope. What you want to put is Senior Care Plan. Senior's SENIOR. And I'm going to take my time, spell it out, make sure they're comfortable with writing it down. And then I'm going to give them my home address. I could give them a P.O. box address or something like that. I'm going to give them my home address. I'm going to sound like the home address is an office address, but really it's my home address. The city, Raleigh, North Carolina, the zip code is 27604. And then just for the show, I'm saying that Mr. Larry on the envelope put attention Greg. Attention Greg. Attention's ATTENTIO in attention Greg. That way, when it comes here in the mail, Mr. Larry, I'll be able to call you. It'll come to my desk and I'll be able to call you right back and let you know your check got here safe and sound. And I don't ask them, do you mind doing that? Will you? I just tell them. They're either going to do it or he might say, I can't do that either. If he says, I can't do that either, I'm going to say, well, what's the best way for you to do this? I'm going to put it on. I mean, there's not really, if they can't mail the check in, they're in the habit already for years and years and years, decades even, of mailing a check in to pay their phone bill, mailing a check in to pay their utility bill, mailing a check in to pay their car bill, unless they've been doing auto drafts for the last several years. Even if they've been doing auto drafts for the last several years, they're still very familiar with mailing a check in. They've never had a problem mailing checks in for other services. And they're not going to really have I never had anybody ever in telesales to tell me I cannot mail the check in. They always said, okay, I can do that. Something affirmative. Now, how many people actually mail the check in? I'd say probably about roughly 2/3 will mail it in. The other 1/3, they don't mail it in. And the 1/3 that don't mail it in, they are probably a no anyway. But I'm going to call them back a few days later, maybe a week. And I'll say, hey, Mr. Larry, Greg, the insurance man with the TV commercial. How are you doing today? Blah, blah, blah. Good. Hey, we never did get the check in the mail. I thought I'd better give you a call. It may have got lost or something. Did you get a chance to mail it off yet? Chances are they're going to say, I never got around to it. I said, well, go grab a pen and paper. Let me give you the address again. This is for your family. And then if they mail it in, great. If they don't, great too. I guess it's a no. So when they mail the check in and I've got it, I call Mr. Larry back. Hey, Mr. Larry, this is Greg with the Senior Care Plan on TV. I got some really good news for you. And I'll pause and they'll say, what's that? I say, we got your check in the mail today. Everything's filled in, looks just right. Really good job you did. Now, the last thing we have to do is I've got to do that recording that I told you about a few days ago. It's about 3 minutes long. And we do the recording because it protects you, protects me, protects the home office. And that way you're knowing everything is done correctly. So then before I call them, I pull Slice back up. I use an iPad. I don't use the website for telesales. And I pull it back up. I go to under construction. I pull it back up, get to where we left off. Then I call Larry up, Mr. Larry up. And then when I do the recording, I'll go ahead and type in the routing and the account number on Slice before I call Mr. Larry. So when I call him, I'm ready to do the recording. Everything's going to pre-populate when I do the recording. When I'm doing the recording, I'm able to easily to read off. I'll say that when we get to the banking information, I'll say, now, Mr. Larry, you mailed your check here to the Raleigh, North Carolina office because when we spoke a few days ago, you were a little uneasy about giving it out over the phone, and I don't blame you. A lot of people feel that way. But your check arrived here safe and sound. This is Bank of America check, checking account. The name on the account is Larry McLean. check number 1304. The routing number is yada, 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 yada. And the account number is yada, 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 yada. And when you do that, never, not even one time has anybody ever said, wait a minute, I told you not to read that account number. No. I've never had anybody, once they just go right along with it, just like smooth as pie. I mean, smooth as hot butter, I guess is the word. They go along with it. They cooperate just like they should have done a few days ago. But to get them to cooperate, we had to get the check in their hand first, and then I can do the telesales. Now, once the telesales is complete, I'm going to do a warm down just like I would in the field. Review things, talk about legacy, reinforce legacy, how good it is, so they'll be more apt to keep the policy. Because if they keep the policy, that's how you make those lifetime renewals. And I'll dig around for referrals, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when I hang up the phone, I'll just take that check that she mailed to me and I'll tear it up and throw it in the trash can and be done with it. And then I'll send my telesales off to the home office. So that's kind of how you do all that part of it. Larry, you look like you were going to say something just a few moments ago.
I was wondering if you want to continue the role play, because I had another one for you. Because two of the biggest objections are either blow off or resistance or whatever you want to call it that agents get is one, I need to think about it. That's a big one. And another one is I didn't call or I didn't mail anything in. Those two big ones right there that people get. I need to think about it. Can you call me next week? Or either I didn't fill it out, I didn't call, I didn't mail it in.
For those, it's very similar to face-to-face. If they say, I need to think about it, I'm going to say basically the same thing I would if I was face-to-face. I'm going to say, I'm going to acknowledge the objection, say, yeah, I understand, Mr. Larry, you'd like to think about it. I'm the same way. But you know, Mr. Larry, you're 74 years old and we're not getting any younger. Obviously, you wanted the free information. I hope I've shared it with you so it's easy to understand. But, you know, we're doing this not for ourselves. We do this for our family, our children. Because, Mr. Larry, one day when you pass away, it's going to be the saddest day in your children's life because they're going to be down at the funeral home. They're going to be crying because they've lost their daddy. And that funeral director is going to say two things to your children. Well, he'll say two things to your daughter, Carol. First of all, he's going to say, I'm sorry about the loss of your father. I'm sure he was a good man. And the second thing that funeral director is going to ask your daughter, Carol, is, did your daddy have life insurance? And, you know, Mr. Larry, if your daughter says, I don't think so, or he never got around to getting it, or no, he doesn't, the funeral director is going to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You see, funeral directors, they want to know they're going to get paid, Mr. Larry. 30 or 40 years ago, they would let the family make monthly installments to pay a funeral, and that was good. But, you know, maybe 15, 25 years ago, it got to the point where families were supposed to make monthly payments, but they stopped making the monthly payments. And the funeral home stuck. They lost their money. They've already buried the person. They can't dig the person back up and give it back. And the family's not paying them like they're supposed to. So funeral homes, they got sick and tired. They couldn't stay in business, so they want payment up front. And, you know, Mr. Larry, I don't know about your children. You know, most families are struggling to make it payday to payday as best they can. And when you throw an $8, $10, $12, $13,000 funeral bill on them, and they got to come up with that money all at one time, it's so much easier to say, yep, he's got life insurance. Let the life insurance take care of it. That's what the life insurance is for. People that get life insurance do this because they love their families. They know there's not a whole lot to think about. You know, you do qualify for immediate coverage today. Heaven forbid, if you want to think about it, you might have a stroke next week, and then all of a sudden you cannot get these super preferred rates. There's nothing to think about. We're going to die one day. I'm going to die. You're going to die. All your neighbors, we're all going to pass along. And you've heard the sad stories we talked about earlier, where sometimes a person, they think about getting insurance, they think about it, but they never do it. And when they do pass away, the family's in a terrible situation, financial embarrassment, financial stress on top of emotional stress. That's not Carol. She's not asking for this responsibility. And I know you love Carol, right, Mr. Larry?
Yes, I love her.
Of course you do. I can tell you do. You smile when we talk about her name. I know you love her. And we both know this is the right thing to do. Would you like to have this due on the 1st of the month, the 3rd day of the month, or some other date?
We're going to set it up on the 2nd Wednesday. That's when I get my deposits.
Choice. And I carry on. I start feeling fit, completing the application where I'm at on Slice.
Great. Well, Greg has done a lot of talking on how we do the process of take, make. But the only way any of us is going to be successful in doing all the things that he's talking about, you have to drill, practice, and rehearse. You got to drill, practice, and rehearse so it can just start rolling off your tongues when you run into these types of objections, blow off, resistance, and all of that. So we coming up on about an hour, so I'm done role playing with you, Greg.
Well, time flies. I'll give you an example. And look, someone like maybe Michael Jordan or Larry Bird or some other great athlete, they're great for, number one, they get the repetitions in, they practice. They're at practice before the team practice. They stay and practice on their own after the team practice. They get their repetitions in, and the more repetitions you get in with telesales is very similar to the more repetitions you get in with face-to-face sales. The more repetitions you get better with it, you get practice with it. For me, it's easy. It's like taking, it's just easy. I don't even think about what do I say next because I've just done so much of it. I've done a whole lot of it. And the more you do, the easier it gets. But no matter what you know or don't know when it comes to telesales or face-to-face sales, if you don't have anybody to talk to, you cannot use your talents. And you can go cold calling people and that will work, but that is so tough. You're much better to do what the winners do. If you want to be one of the successful agents, do what they do. There's no magic. They get 20 leads a week at least. And they go have conversations with the people. It doesn't matter if you work in final expense leads in Texas, North Carolina, Virginia, wherever. We all hear the same excuses. We've already taken care of that. Or my daughter takes care of my business. Or I didn't send that card in, or I didn't call that commercial. We all hear the same stuff. But you just have to be bullheaded and plow along, be focused, and know that, hey, 3/4 of the leads, 2/3 of the leads, whatever, they don't buy. It don't matter who's talking to them, whether it's Ron Powell, Rob Ellsbury, Greg Hinton, whoever. Most of them don't buy anyway. Stay focused and go see the people, have a conversation. They buy, they buy. If they don't, go to the next one. I guess that's pretty much concludes everything. I'll open up the floor if anybody has any questions. Maybe if Novella or Marlo, they normally do telesales a lot. If they have questions, fire away.
Well, I don't have any questions, Greg, but I obviously great job. You always know how to close them. I love how you go for the juggler and go right to don't you love your children? You don't want to leave your children in a bind. I really like that because sometimes that is the main closing factors that you got to be letting them know that this is for their children. You're leaving this so you don't leave the children a burden. But I love the way you say, don't you love your children? I know you do. I don't do all that, but I think I'll work on that a little bit. Going over and over on that because Larry couldn't do nothing but say, little Larry couldn't do nothing but say, yeah, let's set it up. So because
try it. The first few times you'll be a little nervous, but you say it 4 or 5 or 8, 20 or 30 times, it'll be just roll right off your tongue naturally.
Yeah, and that's what we got to do. Well, don't you love your children? Don't you want to make sure Carol is well taken care of? So I like the way you keep reinforcing that which is the main purpose why we on this call, why we trying to do is for Carol and to leave her the money that she needs. But also one of the things that you said that I really like, and I actually experienced it yesterday on the phones. Now, I don't know if I'll just say you might have a stroke because you always go for the juggler, and I like that. I'm a little more softer with that, but I say something may happen to you that could cause your rates to go up. Because some people may feel like you're speaking evil on them or whatever. And I always say, I'm not trying to speak no evil on you. So people don't think that you trying to, speak something negative on their life. But I always say that. But one thing I experienced yesterday as I was talking to one of my clients, we had talked before, he didn't do anything. But since we talked, he done been to the hospital again. He had went to the hospital 2 years ago for COVID, and went through COVID, was in there a couple of weeks, and but he didn't have anything other than COVID. But now he done went to the hospital recently for his diabetes, which they got it under control. But he did stay overnight 1 or 2 nights, a couple of nights. So now he has 2 hospital visits in the last 3 years, which he would originally been preferred. Now that slid him down to standard. And even though it's first day coverage, he's still paying almost $20 more, because he waited, because there was a wait. So we want to encourage our seniors to go ahead and do what they have to do, because none of us know what tomorrow brings. We don't know if our health may fail us. We don't know if we could be in a car accident, whatever. We just don't know. So we don't want to speak no evil on nobody, but we want them to realize that while you qualify today, and I'm really having to learn how to stress that, while you qualify today, let's go ahead and get it done, because you may not qualify next week. I had that happen with another lady. She went, I want to go to the doctor first. I want to go. She was super preferred. I want to go to the doctor first. I said, it's better to get it today while you're in your best health. And she didn't want to do it. And a month and a half later, after she went to the doctor, they put her on blood thinners because her blood pressure was, her blood wasn't circulating. So she went from super preferred down to modified. And you know what a price difference that is. So we definitely want to stress to them that we are here to help them get the best rates while they qualify now, and make sure, like you say, Greg, we get that check coming to their families. And I do like the way you do stress the check. This check is going to come to your family. This check is coming to your family. So I do love that too. Great job, Greg.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you want to paint pictures because people buy on emotion and they use logic later to justify their purchase. Talk about the children, the crime, the high cost of funerals. Bonita's got a comment here. Let me look at it again closely. She says, I've had several people that declined because they wanted more coverage for the premium implied. I guess that's applied. For example, they want about $20,000 for $50 a month, but they only qualify for $8,000 for that premium. Maybe we talk about it. Sure. I showed 3 plans to Miss Betty. In fact, Bonita, can you unmute yourself and you pretend to be Miss Betty and you say exactly what Miss Betty's been telling you?
Hello, how are you?
Is this Bonita?
Yes, it is.
All right, fire away with your objection. Let's see if we can figure out what to do.
Oh, Mr. Greg, I saw a commercial where I could get $20K for cheaper than that. No, I don't want to. I'm not gonna be interested in that.
Okay. Now, going to your comment, you said you've had several people.
Yes.
I've heard the same objection, but it's not several people. But I do hear the objection. Everybody hears that. It doesn't matter if you're one of the top 5 agents in the nation, they hear the same thing. But what if Miss Jones says to me, I saw this TV commercial and I can get $200,000, it's only $30 a month. I'm going to look at her and I'm going to smile and I'm going to say, well, why didn't you sign up? And she's probably going to say, well, I haven't, what? And then once I say, why didn't you sign up? I'm going to say, Miss Betty, let me share with you how that works. When you see that commercial and it says something like 42-year-old man gets $500,000 and only pays $40 a month. Think about that for a second. For an insurance company to stick its neck out for $500,000 and to only charge you $40 a month, they're going to be very, very strict. Probably for every 100 people that apply, they're going to reject about 99 out of 100 because they're going to check your doctor's records since you were born. They're going to check your parents' medical records in case you have a hidden gene for cancer down the road. They're going to check your driving record to make sure you don't have any speeding tickets because they know if you have speeding tickets, you're more likely to get killed in an accident. And when they got their neck on the guillotine for $500,000, which is $500,000, and they're just only charging $40 a month, they cannot afford to stay in business unless they're super strict. Now, Miss Betty, you're taking lisinopril for blood pressure, and that's all you take, which is great. But you're not going to qualify for that kind of coverage. They're going to reject you. You got to be clean as a whistle, not just health-wise. You cannot have any trouble with the law, no speeding tickets. You cannot fly an airplane, no risky occupations. They're going, they're very super strict. Anyway, with this plan right here, we get legacy. Those other plans, they don't have legacy. Remember, we talked about legacy a few moments ago. And then I'm going to spend 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, reviewing legacy all over again and explaining emphasizing how 4 for family members gets the exact same savings. That didn't cost them a penny. And that's kind of what I would say. If after all that, she's still determined that she wants to get that bigger coverage for a smaller premium, I'm going to say, Miss Betty, here's a legacy brochure. Right here on the back's my name and phone number. Apply for that. They're going to come out here and do a urine test, blood test, get your doctor's records. There's a lot more involved to it than what that TV commercial makes it sound like. But call me if I can help you, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you. And I'm out of there. I've done everything I can do. She's one of those Lees that's going to say no. She's just one of the no's, the 2/3 or 3/4 of the Lees that says no. But I have heard that. I've just not had several people. If you have several people, you just run into a bad streak or something. But I have heard that. I'm sure everybody on this call that's worked Lees, they've heard the same objection. It just happens.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
Sometimes what I do, I tell them to, Benitez, I tell them, I say, well, sometimes they put on the commercials a teaser rate. Those rates are like the best of the best. You got to be in perfect health, perfect this, perfect that. They're not giving you the rates of somebody who is not healthy, or somebody who's on 2 blood pressures, or somebody who's on a blood thinner, or somebody who has had a heart attack, stroke, cancer. They're not giving those rates on TV. They're giving the best of the best, what we call teaser rates. Those are rates just to get you to call. But once they go through your health and they see what we see and they talk about what we're talking about, then those rates may change, just like ours has changed. But what we're doing here is we're giving you the best rate that you qualify for today. And I also tell them this, I said, I won't tell you we're the cheapest. We're not the cheapest, nor are we the most expensive company out there, but we do give you more bang for your buck. So we're going to make sure your policy, you get more with your policy in addition to the savings. So we're going to get you the best amount that you qualify for today. And then we're going to save you $4,000 to $5,000 on your funeral costs on top of that. So this is a great plan for you. Now you can go try, like as Greg said, try with those other companies, but I'm pretty sure when they go through all the details of your health, you're going to come back to qualifying for the same amount, but you're not going to get the savings with them. But with us, with our legacy insurance, you're going to get the savings and you're going to get the best qualification today. So that's what I share with them when I try to explain to them the difference in the commercial and what we're talking about right now. Because the commercial are not going over their medications. The commercial not saying that they just been in the hospital 3 times in the last 6 months or last year. The commercial don't know nothing about that. That commercial is talking about only if you're in your best health, you're in perfect health, you have no medication, you perfect on that commercial, as Greg says. When they get through it, they'll realize they don't qualify for that. Yeah. And then another thing I tell them too, and it's the last thing I'm saying, I always say 3 things determine life insurance rates, no matter what company you work with. And I always say that just so they know it's not just my company. No matter what company you work with, 3 things determine life insurance rate. And that's going to be your age, because obviously the younger you are, the cheaper it is. That's going to be your health. Obviously, the healthier you are, the cheaper it is. And that's going to be your sex, because men tend to pay $20, $30 more than women. They tend to pay more than women because, you know, statistically men die quicker, sooner than ladies. It may be that they don't go to the doctor as much as women. So by the time they figure out what's going on, it may be too late. So men tend to pay, and they keep a lot inside. So they tend to have more health issues, heart disease, cancer, because they keep everything inside. And then just to make them laugh, especially when I'm talking to a man, I say, you know, and some men said we run them crazy. I said, but my husband plead the fifth on that. He don't say it in front of me, but he do say it when he's around his friends. And sometimes that make them laugh, you know, because you want to make it a little funny here and there. But most times, by the time you say all of that, they already calculating in their head what they qualify for. They already know they got bad health. They already know that they just came out the hospital. They already know they got cancer. They already know they on a blood thinner. They already know all these things. Only thing you're doing is reiterating as they start speaking it to you. And so unfortunately, you know, with the health condition you're in right now, this is what you qualify for. But with the savings plan, we can make this amount stretch. And I tell them, I say, everybody thinks you need 10,000. You don't have to have 10,000 when you have the savings plan, because we save you so much money, you can go with a little less. And so I'll say, so let's see if we could drop it down a little bit and see if we could fit your budget. And that's how I close a lot of mine. And
thank you, Marla. Keep in mind also, when we talked about objections a couple of weeks ago, if Miss Jones is saying, well, I want to get a lot more coverage for the money, I saw that commercial, that may not be her real objection. That may be a fake objection. So, you know, you kind of address it, you acknowledge it. And then if she says the same thing 3 minutes later, you know, there might be some truth that that's the objection she has. But if 3 minutes later she says, you know, I need to talk to my children about it. And then, you know, I know it's not the real objection, but, you know, if worst case scenario at this last resort, we do have a 50,000, we do have a term that goes up to 50,000. If she qualifies, write her up, tell her it goes up in 20 years, unless it's a return of premium, and tell her that it takes a long time because the doctors are slow billing their records in, and just tell her, we'll write a term and set it up, see what happens as a last resort. See what else we have.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
I do have something that I like to put out to help the team.
Sure.
I've faced this problem not all the time, but several times. First of all, as an insurance professional, this is your business, and this is what I've done, and I train my people to do, and occasionally to have. You have, because when I used to be a photographer also, I used to be in the business of photography, I used to go comp shop, it's called comp shop. All the business that does what I do and see what they're charging and what they're offering. What I'm saying is this month, I've sold 2 policies. The people, one of them had Globe Life, and another one had one Globe Life that she was going to get. And she told me the same thing. Hey, you give me this quote, but I can get this, this, and this, and this for that price. I said, hey, what company is it? I asked what company I need to know because I know what my competitions are. So I've always have my rebuttal, and I carry that in my bag, Globe Life, to show her. There is on the bottom, they don't read the final print. It's a adjustable term that every 5 years, the price goes up. when I showed it, and I have it highlighted in my bag, when I pull up a Globe Life example, bam, she opened her eyes. She said, damn, I didn't know that. I said, yes, I know. That's my job to know all of this for you. That's what I'm going to be, your family agent to take care of you. I am very, organized, and I am passionate about what I do. That's why I have this information to show you. And I said again, don't listen to what I say. Don't listen to what agents tells you. I'm going to show you in black and white. And then when I make her go get her glass and read the fine print, she saw that. Another company, New York Life, same crap. Yes, adjustable term, but they'll give it to you. It's funny. They got some funny games they play out here, okay? It's a 5-year block. Every 5 years, they go up on the price. Oh, the teaser, like Marlo said, the teaser price, oh my God, it's so daggone low. But eventually, it will not be affordable for most people when they hit the age 70 plus. And as a matter of fact, after age, I believe 80 or 85, you got nothing. It's just like a term. You zero. Now you're 85 years old. Now you stuck. Nobody will touch you. Okay. We got another company. AARP has a type of things, and you have these other companies. So you need to look for those. If some of those seniors, they have them, they receive these mails. If you're not old enough and in your 50s or to receive those ads, collect them from your clients. Have it in your arsenal. We are soldiers out here. You're supposed to be armed. You're supposed to have all your tools with you as a mechanic to do your job, okay? So you need to have that. So that's what I tell them. And I also let them know, look, a lot of people, they're 65 and 70, they're expecting a free lunch. And I explained to them, I said, look, even myself, I told them my age. I said, when I was 50 or 40, I can get this rate, that rate, this rate. And as we age, our health don't get better. We get older. So when we give you a quote, it's going to be exact quote. The company going to sell you. There's another company. What is this? I forget the name now. This guy on TV, $9. They've told me that. I've heard that. I can get a polish for $9. I said, yeah, $9. It's only give you $1,000. If you want $10,000, it's going to be there's going to be $100. And if you looked at the fine print, there's a 2-year waiting. So you need to have all that information. Don't let them shake you. Show them in writing if you are in person, okay? It's a little bit more difficult over the phone, but you can still tell them where to go to find that fine print. That's why you must have those with you and study your craft, so you'll be more able to run your business better. Okay.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you. Just a little bit too there also. If someone's real determined, so I can get $50 a month. I hear a lot of echo and vibrating. Okay. I'm going to say, Miss Betty, let me share with you. Let's look at that legacy thing a minute. Remember, you're going to save, your family saves about $3,000 to $5,000. Well, on the casket alone, they're going to save about $3,000 the very first day. That other policy is $30 a month cheaper. It's just going to save you about $3,000. I hear a lot of static. Everybody else hear it?
That's Franz with all that static.
No, it's not me.
It is you.
And I heard you. I think anybody that speaks is staticky, but it doesn't matter. We've probably covered most everything, unless somebody else has some other questions they want to, or comments or anything.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
I just wanted to tell Franz everything he said and is correct. And I do that on the phone. It's just as important on the phone that you talk about the competition as it is face to face. And I tell them, I would say, well, a lot of these companies like AARP, AARP is just writing for New York Life. It is New York Life policy with a 2-year wait. And as Franz said, it goes up every 2 years. and it actually goes away at 80 years old. So you do need to know those details. So, because they already looked at AARP before they called you. So I say now you're looking at a place like AARP, they're going to give you a 2-year wait. Even if you at the best health, you could have perfect health. You're going to get a 2-year wait automatically. And then they're going to, it's going to go up every 5 years to the point that you may or may not be able to afford it. And then when you turn 80, you have nothing. You got to start all the way back over again at 80. And guess who you got to come back to? You got to come back to us, because we're one of the few companies that will cover you at 80 years old. But now you're 80, and it's going to cost 2 to 3 times more at 80 than it does at 60 or 55 or whatever age they are. So it's better to get a permanent whole life policy right now that you lock in and never goes up, never go down, and it fits your budget, and you can work around that because it fit within your budget. We already know as seniors, you're on a fixed income. You can't afford it to go up every 5 years, and then it gets where you can't afford it. And the same thing with Colonial Penn. They say they don't raise the rates, but from my understanding, they do raise the rates. They raise them up according to class, not according to your birthday. But if your birthday fall in the class of 70 to 75, and they raise that class up, if you fall in it, you go up too. If your birthday falls in that class of 75 to 80, it goes up. So theirs go up too, and it can get where you can't afford it. I had one customer tell me originally her Colonial Penn was really low, like $47, $97, not $47, $57 a month. And then all of a sudden it just jumped to like $140. And she said she couldn't afford it, and she had to get rid of it. So the competition is out there. And like I say, you do need to know your competition. We are in war. You have to know how we stack against the competition. Now, like I said, we're not always the cheapest, but we definitely give them more bang for their buck. We very easy to pay out to the families. We dare to help the families during the worst time of their life, when the children help the children during the worst time of life, as Greg said, when the mother and father pass. We do more than the average insurance company do. And I tell people that's our niche. That's what makes us different. We go that extra mile for our families, where other funeral homes, where other insurance companies, only thing they're going to do is send that money to your children and then leave your children at the mercy of the funeral home. And the funeral home going to eat them up. The funeral home going to eat them alive. I used to say rape them. My husband said, that's too rough. Don't say that word. Don't say the word rape. But literally, in a lot of cases, they rape the families. They get every penny, every dime, and it's nothing left. And so we want to stress to them that we dare to get them the best rate and to be there for their family at the worst time in their life. And like I said, if you give them all that information and then they still don't want it, then like Greg said, 70% of these clients are not going to buy. You only need a 30% close rate to make over $100,000 a year. That's going to work to a 30% close rate, 25, 30% close rate. You're going to make a lot of money, especially if you're talking to a lot of people. And that's where the leads come in. So you could talk to a lot of people. You can't make $100,000 a year off 5 people, off 20 people, off 30 people. You need a lot of people to talk to make that $100,000 a year. And there's plenty of people making 6, 7 figures in this business. And we all working towards those numbers. But it is about talking to a lot of people. I know when I'm on the phones for a long time, it's been days I was on the phone 8, 9 hour days. And I made good money. The days I had other things get in the way, I'm only putting in 2 hours in, 3 hours in, 4 hours in. My numbers always show it. So it's really about how much time you put on the phone, or how much time you put door to door, and how much time you put talking or seeing the people. The more you put in, it's like a bank. The more you put in, the more you get out. You don't put nothing in, you don't get nothing out. If you put a lot in, you get a lot out. So just want to encourage you, just talk to as many people as possible. And no, you're not going to close all of them. I got real bold now. If I see one that say no, I just write 70% beside his name and scratch him out, throw away the paper, because I already know 70% not gonna buy any. Anyway, I'm just looking for that 30% that's gonna help me hit my 100,000 plus.
Okay. Well, don't forget, we've got Ron's call at 1 o'clock. And he's very down to earth if you've never heard of him. I encourage you to be on the call. It's always informative. He's going to have these every 2 weeks. I appreciate everybody attending the call today. Thank you much. And we'll see you on the call in a couple hours. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Great call.
Thank you. Great call. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.